and gentlemen, welcome back to the Indie Zone. My name is Kathy. We wanted to alert you to the fact that Judge Hippler has now set a restitution hearing to occur remotely before the court in the matter styled as State of Idaho versus Brian C. Kohberger. The date of this hearing is noticed as November 6th, 2025. Time 10 a.m. Presiding Judicial Officer, Judge Stephen J. Hippler. And then the additional notation that this hearing will be remote. It is not going to be in Judge Hippler's courtroom live, but it will be held via Zoom at 10 a.m. And the clerk will send out the invitation prior to the hearing date. Now, this notice of restitution hearing granted a motion that the state filed for this hearing, which we're going to go over in just a moment. But there are two questions that remain unanswered at this time that I wanted to pose here, giving my opinion, speculating here. First, will this be transmitted live to the public? Or is this a closed and sealed hearing? The reason why I pose the question that it might be closed and sealed to the public is because in the notice that the state had filed back on September 22nd, 2025, leading to this restitution hearing, attached to it a sealed exhibit that Judge Hippler has sealed to the public. So based on that fact, the question remains, will this be yet another closed and sealed hearing to the public, or is the court going to allow the public to watch the proceedings transmitted live? Secondly, will Mr. Kohberger be in attendance? When the defense filed its response in opposition to the state's filing, there was a notation that Mr. Kohberger was not going to be present, that he would be represented exclusively by counsel. And this raises two other points that I wanted to bring to your attention. First, during the more than 2.5 years that this case proceeded, whether hearings were scheduled in the courtroom or were remote via Zoom, for example, I cannot think of one hearing that Mr. Kohberger did not attend. He was very active in his participation in the matter before it was closed back on July 23rd, 2025. In other words, I cannot, in giving my opinion, recall a single hearing, whether live or remote, that he did not attend. So now that the court has set this as a virtual hearing, the question remains if he will attend remotely via the prison where he is incarcerated. Now, let's look at the motion for restitution hearing, because it raises additional questions here that I wanted to bring to your attention. You can review this document electronically filed October 16th, 2025. It's on the court docket for you to review. This is entitled Motion for Restitution Hearing. Comes now the state of Idaho by and through the Latah County prosecuting attorney, and respectfully request that this court set a restitution hearing regarding the state's request for restitution and motion to seal exhibit, filed on September 22nd, 2025. After consultation with the defense, the parties request between November 3rd and November 6th, 2025, if the court has availability. If the court is not available on these dates, the parties will promptly provide alternative dates. Additionally, The state respectfully requests that the parties be allowed to appear remotely based on the time and expense involved in traveling to Boise, Idaho. Defense counsel does not have an objection to a remote setting. Next page. Finally, the state requests permission to file a response to the defendant's objection to the state's request for additional restitution filed on October 7th, 2025. On or before October 24th, 2025, the state is seeking additional information before filing a response, and this is dated the 14th day of October 2025, signed by Ashley S. Jennings, Senior Deputy Prosecuting Attorney. If I could interject certain comments, opinions, give some speculation here, ladies and gentlemen. First, we see here that this request for a hearing was granted by virtue of the notice of hearing that is now on the court docket. We see that the court did set the hearing for a time frame that was requested of between November 3rd and November 6th, and that the court also accommodated the request to have this be a remote hearing rather than requiring the parties to travel to Boise to attend. Next area that I would like to speculate on is the way that the state has framed the briefings here leaves open the possibility that Mr. Kohberger will be filing or may be filing a reply to this response. First, what are the briefings? The briefings typically consist of 3 items, which you have probably noted throughout your observation and your research of the Idaho versus Kohberger case. First, an initiating party will file a motion. A motion is an application for a court order. It asks for some sort of remedy or relief. Here, the relief that's being requested is for restitution. The other side has an opportunity to be heard as due process requires in filing a response, which the defense has done. Then the originating party gets to file a reply, which would be the 3rd item in the briefings. And at that point, the briefings would be deemed closed. So, motion, response, reply. The way that the state has framed this to file a response to the opposition, it's not that they want to file a reply. Defense came back, filed a response. State comes back, files a reply, which would be what I was anticipating would have been what the state is looking to do on or before October 24th. But because they have framed this as though they want to file a response, will the defense now file a reply to that response? There's certainly time to do it. They're saying that they're going to file this response on or before October 24th, 2025. All questions that I ask rhetorically, all based on opinion, not fact. We don't know anything further than what appears on the docket, and we do recommend, as we always do, that you read the filings for yourself. We will continue to keep you apprised as further developments arise. And until next time, this is Kathy. Thank you for joining us here today.